At my perfect sister's baby shower, my entire family publicly mocked my hobby art career and called me a burden in front of 150 guests. They had no idea the museum director standing behind them had just paid $4.7 million for my latest collection. And when the truth came out during her gender reveal, my mother fainted, my sister screamed, and my father begged me not to ruin the family name he'd spent decades building on my silent, anonymous success. My name is Claire Donovan. I'm 31 years old, and the moment I realized my family would never see me was at a pottery barn, of all places, when I was 19 years old. My older sister Vivian, perfect, polished, precision-engineered Vivian, was registering for her first wedding. Yes, first. There would be two more after that, but we didn't know it then. She was 23, marrying a hedge fund analyst named Preston, and our mother was in absolute heaven. I was trailing behind them through the home goods section, pushing a cart full of serving platters and linen napkins, when I made the mistake of mentioning my art school acceptance letter. "Mom," I said, trying to keep my voice casual, like it wasn't the biggest thing that had ever happened to me. "I got into RISD, full scholarship for painting." My mother, Patricia Donovan, didn't even turn around. She was examining a set of crystal wine glasses, holding them up to the fluorescent lights like she was appraising diamonds. "That's nice, dear," she said absently. Vivian glanced at me over her shoulder, her perfectly highlighted hair swinging. "RISD, isn't that in Providence? That's so far. How are you going to help with the wedding planning?" "I'll come home for." "Honestly, Claire," my mother interrupted, finally setting down the glasses and turning to face me with that look. That patient, slightly disappointed look I knew so well. "Art school is a lovely hobby, but we need to talk about your real future. Your father and I were thinking you could go to state, get a business degree. Vivian's husband has connections at several firms. You could have a real career." "But painting is my..." "Vivian needs 6 of these," my mother said, handing me a gravy boat. "Put them on the registry scanner." That was it. The conversation was over. My scholarship to one of the most prestigious art schools in the country was dismissed in the same breath as a gravy boat. I stood there in that pottery barn, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, surrounded by the material trappings of Vivian's perfect life, and I understood something fundamental. I would never matter to them the way she did. But here's what they didn't know, what they couldn't have known as they dismissed me in that home goods store. I would take that scholarship. I would go to RISD, and over the next 12 years I would build something so extraordinary, so valuable, so undeniably real that their dismissal would become the most expensive mistake they ever made. Fast forward to now, I'm standing in the sunroom of my parents' Connecticut estate, because of course they have a sunroom, and of course it's filled with white wicker furniture and pastel cushions, watching 150 people celebrate my sister's 3rd pregnancy. 3rd marriage, 3rd pregnancy, 3rd chance for my parents to throw an event that proves the Donovan family is still relevant in our wealthy suburbs' social hierarchy. The baby shower is obscene in its excess. There's a dessert table that looks like it was designed by someone who's never heard the word moderation, a tower of macarons in pink and blue, a chocolate fountain, custom cookies with little fondant babies on them. There's a professional photographer circulating through the crowd, a string quartet playing Vivian's favorite classical pieces, and centerpieces that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. I'm wearing a simple black dress I bought 3 years ago. My hair is in a messy bun because I was working in my studio until 3 a.m. last night and forgot to wash it. My shoes are comfortable flats because I refuse to torture my feet for people who barely notice I'm here. I've been assigned to table 11. Table 1 is Vivian, obviously, holding court like a pregnant queen, one hand resting on her considerable belly, the other holding a glass of sparkling cider in a crystal champagne flute. Tables 2-5 are immediate family and Vivian's closest friends, women with names like Brinley and Sutton and Harper, all wearing designer dresses and discussing their Hamptons summer rentals. Table 11 is where they put the distant cousins, the awkward family friends, and me, the art daughter, the one who never quite launched. My mother has been preparing her speech for weeks. I know this because she practiced it in front of me last Tuesday when I came by to drop off the gift I'd been guilted into buying, a $300 cashmere baby blanket that Vivian will use exactly once for a photo op before storing it in acid-free tissue paper. "Claire," my mother had said, not looking up from her note cards, "you're early. Good, you can be my practice audience." I sat on the couch in their formal living room, the one we were never allowed to play in as children, and watched her run through her speech. It was all about Vivian, her accomplishments, her beauty, her perfect life. My eldest daughter, the speech began, has always been exceptional. From the moment she was born, I knew she was destined for great things, and she has exceeded every expectation. There was a whole section about Vivian's education, Princeton, summa cum laude, though she'd never actually used her degree. There was praise for her excellent taste and natural elegance. There was a glowing paragraph about her husband, Marcus, husband number 3, who ran a successful wealth management firm. And then near the end, almost as an afterthought. And of course, we can't forget Claire, our free spirit. She's been pursuing her passion for painting for years now. We keep hoping she'll settle down and find something more stable, but you know artists, they march to their own drum. We love her anyway. The words, "we love her anyway," hit me like a slap. Not "we love her," not "we're proud of her." We love her anyway. As if loving me required overlooking a fundamental flaw. My mother had looked up from her cards, waiting for feedback. "It's perfect," I'd said, my voice flat, "very you." She'd beamed, completely missing the edge in my tone. Now, sitting at table 11, watching her take the microphone at the front of the sunroom, I brace myself for the public version of that speech. But before she can begin, my phone vibrates in my clutch. A text from an unknown number. "Ms. Donovan, I'm at the front gate. Security won't let me in. Can you come get me? James Chen, MO.MA." My heart stops. James Chen, director of contemporary art at the Museum of Modern Art. The man who, 3 weeks ago, stood in my studio in Brooklyn for 6 hours, walked around my latest collection, a series of 23 paintings I'd titled Invisible, and said 5 words that changed my life. "I want all of them." The negotiation had been swift and surreal. His opening offer was $3.2 million for the collection. My gallerist, a sharp woman named Katerina who'd believed in me when no one else did, had countered with $5 million. They'd settled on $4.7 million. $4.7 million. For paintings I'd created in a converted warehouse studio in Bushwick, working night shifts as a bartender to pay rent, eating bodega sandwiches for dinner, wearing paint-stained clothes I bought at Goodwill. The sale had closed last week. The money was in my account, though I'd barely processed it, barely touched it. I was still living in my same studio apartment, still taking the subway, still buying my coffee from the same corner cart. I hadn't told my family. Why would I? They'd made it abundantly clear that my art was a hobby, a phase I'd eventually grow out of, like Vivian grew out of her brief flirtation with veganism. But James had mentioned he wanted to meet me, to discuss the installation timeline, and do a few preliminary interviews for the MO.MA magazine feature. I hadn't expected him to show up at my sister's baby shower in Connecticut. I text back quickly, "I'm so sorry, there's been a misunderstanding. This is a private family event. Can we reschedule?" His response is immediate. "I'm only in the area for a few hours. I drove out to see the Rothko exhibition at the Aldrich and thought I'd drop by. Your mother invited me when we spoke last week, said it would be fine." My mother invited him. My mother doesn't even know James Chen exists. Unless my stomach drops. Last week, a woman claiming to be from an art museum in New York had called the house looking for me. My mother had taken the message, but when she relayed it to me, she'd been dismissive. "Some museum person wants to talk to you about your paintings." I gave her your number. "Honestly, Claire, I don't know why you give out the house number. It's embarrassing when these people call." I'd assumed it was a small gallery, maybe someone interested in a single piece. I hadn't followed up because I was dealing with the MO.MA contract. I hadn't realized my mother had apparently invited a museum director to a baby shower. This is about to get very complicated. I stand up from table 11, grabbing my clutch. My cousin Danielle, seated next to me, looks up from her phone. "Where are you going? Your mom's about to start." "Bathroom," I mutter, already moving toward the French doors that lead to the front of the house. As I slip out, I hear my mother's voice, amplified through the sound system. "Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here to celebrate this beautiful occasion." I walk quickly through the marble-floored foyer, past the formal dining room where additional desserts are staged, past the sweeping staircase with its antique runner, toward the front door. Through the sidelight windows, I can see the gate at the end of the long driveway. There's a Tesla parked there, and a man in a dark suit standing next to it, talking to our security guard. I push open the heavy front door and walk down the stone steps, across the perfectly manicured lawn, down the driveway. As I get closer, James Chen turns and sees me. His face breaks into a warm smile. "Claire, thank you for coming to get me. I apologize for the confusion." "James, I'm so sorry," I begin, slightly out of breath. "I didn't know my mother had invited you. This isn't a good time." He waves a hand dismissively. "I understand completely. Family events are sacred. I just wanted to drop off these contracts for you to review there for the Catalog S and to tell you in person. The board approved the exhibition dates. We're opening your show in September. You're going to be the fall centerpiece exhibition." The fall centerpiece. At MoMAs. The words don't feel real. I struggle to find words that match the magnitude. "That's incredible, thank you." "Thank you," he says emphatically. "Your work is transformative. The board was unanimous. We haven't been this excited about a contemporary painter in years." Behind us, I hear the crunch of gravel. I turn to see one of the catering staff approaching. "Ms. Donovan," the young woman says, "your mother is looking for you. She's about to do the speech." "I'll be right there." James hands me a manila folder. "These are the contracts. Take your time reviewing them. And Claire, congratulations. You've earned every bit of this." I take the folder, holding it against my chest like a shield. "Thank you, James, really." He gets back in his Tesla, and the security guard opens the gate to let him out. I walk back toward the house, my mind spinning. The folder in my hands feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. Inside are the contracts that will make my exhibition official. Inside is proof that I'm not a hobbyist, not a dreamer, not a burden my family has to apologize for. Inside is validation. But as I reach the front steps and hear my mother's voice floating through the open windows, and of course, we can't forget Claire, our free spirit, I realize that validation from strangers, even prestigious strangers, will never quite erase the sting of being invisible to the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. I walk back into the sunroom, just as my mother is reaching the painful part of her speech. She's been pursuing her passion for painting for years now, living in New York doing her thing. We keep hoping she'll settle down and find something more stable, but you know artists. Polite laughter ripples through the crowd. I slide back into my seat at table 11. Danielle leans over. "You missed the good part. Your mom told the story about Vivian winning the Academic Achievement Award in high school. I'm sure it was riveting." On stage, my mother is wrapping up. "So here's to Vivian, to Marcus, and to the beautiful baby who will be joining our family in just a few months. May this child be as blessed as we've been blessed by Vivian." Applause, enthusiastic, genuine applause. Vivian stands, glowing in her designer maternity dress, and hugs our mother. Then my father, Richard Donovan, a man who made his fortune in commercial real estate and never let anyone forget it, takes the microphone. "I'll keep this brief," he says, his voice booming with practiced authority, "but I want to say a few words about success, about legacy." Oh no. I've heard this speech before, different occasions, same message. "In the Donovan family," my father continues, "we believe in building something real, something tangible. Vivian has done that. She's built a beautiful home, a beautiful family. She's chosen a partner who understands the value of hard work and smart investing." He pauses for effect. "That's what I tried to instill in both my daughters, the importance of practical thinking, of making choices that lead to security and stability." He glances in my direction. It's brief, but I catch it. So does half the room. Of course, he continues, his tone shifting to something that sounds like sympathy but feels like condescension. "Not everyone follows that path. Some people choose more creative pursuits. And while we support that, we love Claire very much. I do worry about her future, about what happens when the painting thing doesn't work out and she doesn't have anything to fall back on." The paintings thing. 12 years of my life, hundreds of paintings, a MoMA exhibition, a $4.7 million collection sale. The paintings thing. I feel the folder in my lap, the contracts inside it, and I make a decision. Not yet. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of a public reveal, not like this, not at Vivian's event. But soon, very soon, they're going to learn exactly what the painting thing has become. And when they do, this entire carefully constructed hierarchy, the one that put Vivian on a pedestal and me in the shadows, is going to collapse. My father finishes his speech to another round of applause. The string quartet starts playing again. Servers circulate with champagne and sparkling cider. I stand up from table 11 and walk toward the dessert table, needing sugar and distance. That's when I hear her voice behind me. Claire. I turn, it's Vivian, her hand resting on her belly, her expression a mix of pity and superiority I know so well. Hey, Vive, congratulations. Thank you, she smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about something. Here it comes. Marcus and I have been discussing it, and we think it might be time for you to consider a change. A change? A career change. You've given the art thing a real shot, and that's admirable, but you're 31 now. You can't bartend and paint forever. It's not sustainable. The art thing's like father, like daughter. Marcus has a friend, Vivian continues, her voice taking on that helpful, patronizing tone that makes my skin crawl, who runs a marketing firm. They're looking for someone to do social media graphics. It's entry level, but it's a foot in the door. Real salary, benefits, $401k. I could put in a word. Social media graphics. After selling a collection to MoMA for nearly $5 million. I should tell her, I should end this conversation right now with the truth. But something stops me. Maybe it's the way she's looking at me, with such absolute certainty that she's offering me a lifeline. Maybe it's the way our mother is watching from across the room, nodding approvingly at Vivian for helping her struggling younger sister. Maybe it's because I've spent 31 years being invisible to them, and I want to watch what happens when they can no longer ignore me. That's really kind of you, Vive, I say carefully. I'll think about it. You should, she says firmly. I know it's hard to let go of a dream, but sometimes being an adult means making practical choices. She pats my arm, actually pats my arm like I'm a child, and walks away to greet more guests. I stand there holding a plate with a macaron I don't want, watching my sister accept congratulations and admiration, and I think about all the years I've spent being the footnote in the Donovan family story. The disappointing one, the impractical one, the one they love anyway. Not anymore. My phone vibrates again, another text from Katerina, my gallerist. NYT wants to do a profile on you for the arts section, tied to the MoMA announcement. Should I say yes? I look around the sunroom, at the guests in their expensive clothes, sipping champagne and celebrating Vivian, at my parents glowing with pride, at Vivian herself, radiant and certain of her place in the world. At the life they've built on the assumption that I will always be less than. I text back, yes, tell them I'm ready. The New York Times profile runs 2 weeks later, on a Sunday. I don't tell my family it's coming, I don't prepare them, I just let it happen. The headline reads, Claire Donovan, the invisible artist who's about to become impossible to ignore. The article is 3,000 words. It details my journey from dismissed art student to MoMA's fall centerpiece exhibition. It includes the $4.7 million sale. It features quotes from James Chen calling my work the most important contemporary painting we've acquired in a decade. There are photos of me in my studio, surrounded by canvases, photos of my paintings, haunting and beautiful, photos of me looking confident, capable, successful. Everything my family said I wasn't. I'm at a coffee shop in Brooklyn when the first call comes. It's my mother. I let it ring. Then my father. Then Vivian. Then my mother again. Then my Aunt Susan, my cousin Danielle, my father's business partner, my mother's book club friend. My phone lights up like a Christmas tree. I silence it and order another coffee. Around noon, I finally listen to the voicemails. My mother's voice is shrill, panicked. Claire Elizabeth Donovan, you need to call me back immediately. I just saw the Times. Is this real? Why didn't you tell us? Call me back right now. My father's message is shorter, tighter. We need to talk, as soon as possible. Vivian's is the longest. Claire, what the hell? $4 million. A MoMA exhibition? Why would you keep this from us? Why would you let us think? Oh my God, you let Dad give that whole speech about you not having a backup plan. You made us look like idiots. This is so typical of you, making everything about you, even at my baby shower. Call me. I delete the voicemails and finish my coffee. Let them sit with it, let them wonder. Let them feel what I've felt for 31 years, invisible, unimportant, an afterthought. I finally call back that evening from my studio. My mother answers on the first ring. Claire. Hi, Mom. Don't you hi mom me. What is going on? Is that article true? Yes. You sold paintings for $4 million. 4.7 million. Silence. Then, and you didn't think to tell your family. I didn't think you'd be interested. Not interested, her voice rises. How could we not be interested? Because for the last 12 years, every time I tried to talk about my work, you changed the subject. Every time I had a gallery show, you were too busy to come. Every time I achieved something, you found a way to diminish it. So forgive me if I didn't think a multi-million-dollar sale and a MoMA exhibition would suddenly make you care. That's not fair, isn't it? Another silence. Then my father's voice. She's put me on speaker. Claire, we need to discuss this as a family. Can you come to the house? When? No. I'm working. This is more important than work. I almost laugh. Is it because you've spent most of my adult life telling me work, real work is what matters, and I'm working on the exhibition, so I'll have to decline. Claire, I can come next Sunday for dinner. We can talk then. I hang up before they can respond. My hands are shaking, but I feel powerful. Maybe for the first time in my relationship with my family, I feel like I have the upper hand. The week between the article and the Sunday dinner is surreal. The profile goes viral, not in a celebrity way, but in the art world way. Gallery directors I've admired for years are emailing me. Collectors are reaching out through Katerina. I'm invited to speak on 2 panels and do 3 more interviews. My Instagram, which had 847 followers last month, is now at 43,000. I'm not famous, but I'm visible. And visibility, I'm learning, is its own kind of power. Sunday arrives. I take the Metro North up to Connecticut, wearing jeans and a paint-stained sweater because I'm done performing for them. My mother opens the door before I can knock. She looks smaller, older, uncertain. Claire, come in. The house is quiet, no party, no guests, just family. We gather in the formal living room, the one we were never allowed to use as kids. My parents on one couch, Vivian and Marcus on another. I take the armchair, sitting alone. My father speaks first. We owe you an apologies. I wait. We didn't understand what you were building. We thought we were being practical, being good parents by pushing you towards stability. We didn't realize that I was successful, I finish for him. That you were this successful, he corrects. A MoMA exhibition, Claire, that's extraordinary. It is. Why didn't you tell us? My mother asks, and there are actual tears in her eyes. Why did we have to read about it in the newspaper? Because you never asked, I say simply. In 12 years, you never once asked to see my work, never visited my studio, never came to a single gallery show. You decided what my life was worth without ever actually looking at it. That's not true, Vivian protests. We've always supported you. I turned to her. Vive, 2 weeks ago, you offered to get me an entry-level job doing social media graphics. You told me it was time to let go of my dream and be an adult. Do you remember that? She pales. I remember. I had just sold a collection for nearly $5 million. I was preparing for the biggest exhibition of my career, and you were offering me an entry-level position because you genuinely believed I was failing. I didn't know. You didn't ask. The room falls silent. Finally, my father speaks again. What do you want from us, Claire? What do we need to do to fix this? It's such a typical businessman question. Everything is a negotiation, a transaction. I don't want anything, I say honestly. I just wanted you to see me, and now the whole world is going to see me, whether you do or not. I stand. I'll send you tickets to the opening. You can come if you want, but I'm not going to beg you to be proud of me anymore. I'm done with that. I walk toward the door. Claire, wait, my mother calls. I pause but don't turn around. We are proud of you, we are. I think about all the times I waited to hear those words, all the times I would have given anything for their approval. Thank you, I say quietly, but I don't need you to be anymore. I'm proud of me, and that's enough. I walk out of that house, down the stone steps, across the perfect lawn, and I don't look back. The MoMA exhibition opens in September, on a perfect early fall evening when the air is just starting to cool, and the light has that golden quality that makes everything look like a painting itself. The museum is packed. There are art critics, collectors, other artists I admire. There are strangers who lined up for hours to be among the first to see the show. And in the back, standing uncertainly near the entrance, are my parents and Vivian. They came. I didn't think they would, but they did. I watched them move through the exhibition, seeing my work, really seeing it for the first time. The Invisible series is arranged chronologically, telling the story of what it feels like to be overlooked. Each painting is a portrait of absence, of negative space, of the ghost you become when no one bothers to look at you. The final painting in the series is called Scene. It's a self-portrait, but unlike the others, I'm not fading or fragmented or hidden. I'm solid, present, real. I painted it the day after the sale closed, after I realized I didn't need them to see me anymore because I could finally see myself. My mother stops in front of it. She stands there for a long time, and even from across the room, I can see her shoulders shaking. She's crying. My father puts his arm around her. Vivian joins them, and the three of them stand together, looking at a painting I created about being separate from them. A curator from MoMA touches my elbow. Claire, there are some people from the Guggenheim who want to meet you. I nod, but I'm still watching my family. James Chen appears at my side. Your family, he asks. Yeah. Are you going to go talk to them? I think about it. Then I shake my head. Not yet, let them look, let them really see it, then maybe. The exhibition runs for 6 months. It breaks attendance records for a contemporary painting show at MoMA. 3 paintings sell to major museums. 5 more go to private collectors. The reviews are extraordinary. The Times calls it a masterwork of contemporary portraiture. Artforum dedicates their entire December issue to analyzing the series. I'm not invisible anymore. Not to the art world. Not to critics or collectors or curators. And eventually, slowly, painfully, not to my family either. 3 months after the opening, my mother calls. I've been coming to see the exhibition, she says, every week, sometimes twice a week. I just sit with your paintings. Mom, let me finish, please. I wait. I've been thinking about all the times I should have listened, should have looked, should have seen you, and I can't get those moments back. I can't undo the damage, but I want you to know, I see you now, and I'm sorry it took the whole world seeing you first before I could. It's not enough to erase 31 years. But it's something. Thank you, I say. And I mean it. The road to reconciliation is long and uncertain. Some days are better than others. My father still sometimes slips and asks about my backup plan. Vivian still occasionally suggests I should diversify into commercial art. But they come to my shows now. They ask about my process. They've learned the names of other artists I admire. They're trying. And maybe that's all I can ask for. I'm in my studio when the call comes, the one that changes everything again. It's the Guggenheim. They want to do a retrospective, not just the Invisible series, but everything, 15 years of work. I'm 32 years old, and I'm getting a retrospective at the Guggenheim. I call my mother to tell her. She answers immediately. A retrospective, she breathes. Claire, that's incredible. When? Next fall. I'll be there, front row, I promise. And this time, I believe her. Epilogue. I'm standing in the Guggenheim's iconic spiral gallery, watching visitors move through 15 years of my life, rendered in oil and canvas. The retrospective is called From Invisible to Inevitable. It starts with my earliest works, raw, angry paintings from art school, when I was still figuring out my voice. It moves through the years of struggle, the paintings I made while working night shifts, while wondering if I was delusional for thinking I could make this work. It includes the Invisible series, of course. Those paintings are now worth millions each. And it ends with my newest collection, created over the last year. These paintings are different. They're not about absence or invisibility. They're about presence, about taking up space, about being undeniably, unapologetically real. I call the series Anyway. As in, they love me anyway. As in, I made it anyway. As in, I became inevitable anyway. My family is here. They've been here since the doors opened. My mother has brought her entire book club. My father has invited his business partners. Vivian is here with her husband and their toddler, my nephew, who I actually have a relationship with now. They're not perfect, we're not perfect. But they're trying to see me, and I'm trying to let them. A journalist approaches, one of dozens who have requested interviews. Ms. Donovan, can I ask you a question? Of course. Knowing what you know now, would you change anything? Would you have told your family about your success earlier? I think about that pottery barn, about being 19 and dismissed in the same breath as a gravy boat. I think about the baby shower, about being pitied and patronized. I think about all the years I spent invisible. No, I say finally, I wouldn't change it, because being invisible gave me something precious, the freedom to become myself without their expectations shaping me. I got to build my career, my voice, my vision on my own terms, and by the time they saw me, I was already fully formed. They couldn't diminish me because I was already too solid, too real. The journalist scribbles notes. So the invisibility was a gift. I smile. The invisibility was a gift, but being seen, really seen, for who I actually am, that's even better. I watch my mother across the room. She's explaining one of my paintings to her friend, gesturing animatedly, her face alight with pride. She sees me now. They all do. And it's not because I changed, it's because I refused to. I stayed exactly who I was, a painter, an artist, a dreamer, until the world had no choice but to acknowledge it. And that acknowledgement didn't come from them. It came from me. I made myself visible. I made myself inevitable. I made myself impossible to ignore. And that's a kind of power no one can ever take away. The retrospective runs for 8 months. It's the most visited show in the Guggenheim's recent history. But the real victory isn't in the numbers or the reviews or the sales. It's in the quiet moment, 3 months into the run, when my father approaches me at the opening of a smaller gallery show. Claire, he says, and his voice is different, humble, can I tell you something? Sure. I've been thinking about my real estate business, about the empire I built, and I realize something. He pauses, looking around at the gallery, at my paintings on the walls. What I built will be forgotten in a generation, maybe 2, but what you're building, this will last, this will matter. Long after we're all gone, people will look at your work and see truth, see beauty, see what it means to be human. His eyes are wet. I was wrong about everything, and I'm sorry it took me so long to understand that. I hug him, really hug him, for the first time in years. Thank you, Dad. No, he says, thank you, for being brave enough to do this even when we didn't believe in you. You're the real success story in this family. 5 years later. I'm 37 now. My work is in the permanent collections of MoMA, the Guggenheim, the Tate Modern, and the Louvre. I've shown in Paris, London, Tokyo, Sao Paulo. I've been featured in Time's 100 Most Influential People. I bought a brownstone in Brooklyn, not to show off, but because I needed more studio space. I'm happy. And I'm visible. Not because my family finally sees me, though they do. Not because the art world validates me, though they do. But because I see myself. And that was always the point. Last week, I got a letter from a young woman in Ohio. She's 19, wants to go to art school, and her parents are pushing her toward business school instead. They say art isn't a real career, she wrote. They say I'll end up broke and struggling. I don't know what to do. Did you ever doubt yourself? I wrote back. Yes, every day, doubt is part of the process. But here's what I learned. The people who love you will often try to protect you from the things they fear. And if they've never seen success look like what you're trying to build, they'll fear it. You can't wait for their permission to become yourself. You have to be brave enough to disappoint them in the short term so you can make them proud in the long term. Or better yet, be brave enough to make yourself proud, whether they come around or not. Paint anyway, create anyway, become yourself anyway. That's the only path that matters. I mailed the letter and felt, for just a moment, like I was writing to my 19-year-old self in that pottery barn. The girl who thought she needed her family's approval to be real. The girl who didn't understand, yet that she could make herself real. I wish I could go back and tell her, you're going to make it. You're going to be more than they can imagine. You're going to build something so beautiful, so true, so undeniably valuable that their dismissal will become irrelevant. You're going to become inevitable. But I can't go back. So instead, I keep painting. I keep creating. I keep being visible, unapologetically, completely, triumphantly myself. And every painting is a message to every invisible person out there. You are not too much. You are not impractical. You are not a burden to be loved anyway. You are exactly enough. You just need to believe it before anyone else does. Build your empire in the shadows if you have to. Build it in secret. Build it alone. But build it. And when the world finally sees what you've been creating all along, you'll realize the most important truth. You never needed them to see you. You just needed to see yourself. And once you do, you become unstoppable.